with his disciples to a certain town, when they arrived, there was already a huge crowd waiting for him. And in the crowd, there was a religious leader named Jairus. And he came running up to Jesus. And he said, Jesus, please, come to my home. My only daughter, 12 years old, is dying. And so Jesus started to his home with his disciples, and the crowd followed them. And in the crowd, there was a woman. This woman had been bleeding for 12 years. But she thought to herself, if only I could just touch the edge of his clothes, I know I would be healed. And so she pushed through the crowd, and she reached out and touched him. And immediately, she was completely healed. And Jesus said, who touched me? And Peter, one of his followers, said, Lord, how can you ask that? The crowds are all pressing around you. He says, I know, for power has gone out from me. So the woman realized she couldn't go unnoticed. And she came trembling, and she knelt at Jesus' feet, and she told him that she had been bleeding for 12 years, and that no doctor could help her, and she'd spent all of her money, and she'd only gotten worse. But the moment she touched him, she was completely healed. Jesus said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace. Well, right at that moment, one of the leaders from Jairus' house came up and said to Jairus, don't bother the teacher anymore, because your daughter is already dead. But Jesus turned to Jairus, and he said, don't be afraid, Jairus. Only believe, and she will be healed. And Jesus continued with his disciples to Jairus' home. Now, when they got to the home, all the people were gathered mourning for the little girl because she had died. But Jesus said, don't cry. She's not dead. She's only sleeping. Well, they laughed at Jesus. But Jesus took his 3 closest disciples and the parents into the home. And there was a little girl lying on the bed. And Jesus looked at her. He said, my child, arise. And she sat up, and the life came back into her. And the parents were amazed. And Jesus said, give her something to eat. And they did. They had never seen anything like it. You see, as you can see by these stories, Jesus cared deeply for people. Jesus also met them in their disappointments and their brokenness. And this is who he is.